Shalom. I'd like to share with you a thought related to this week's Torah reading, Parshat Noach. Something very interesting happens after the flood. When all the rain has stopped and the water has stopped rising and the ground is dried up, God tells Noach that it's time for him and his family to get off the ark, to get off the teva. One would wonder, why would God need to actually command Noach to get off the teva? After all, he spent so much time on the boat, cooped up with all those animals, and so few people, that he would be eager. He'd be really, really excited to get off the boat. Yet, he waits for God to command him to do so. So there are a number of approaches within the commentaries as to why this is so. One approach is that the command to get off the boat simply corresponds to the command to get on the boat. And it's sort of a neat way, a neat method that the Torah uses to create sort of a matching scenario. God told Noach to get on the boat, and so to end the story, God tells Noach to get off the boat. It's a literary tool. The Midrash suggests that Noach's children said, "Dad, it's time to get off the boat." And Noach said, "Not so fast. We got on because God commanded us to. We could only get off because God commanded us to." Perhaps there it's suggesting that the entire episode, just like it started only because of God commanding Noach and his family to get on the boat, could only officially end with a commandment from God to get off the boat. I'd like to suggest another approach, and that is that Noach simply could not get off the boat. He was simply too depressed. After all, the world was now one large graveyard. Everybody was dead. Noach simply didn't want to get off the boat. He didn't want to re-enter life. He didn't want to recreate. He didn't think that he could go on. In fact, this approach is borne out by a verse which comes a little bit later in the story, where God has to tell Noach that he must have children. God already commanded that we procreate. He told that to Adam. God needs to tell Noach again, because Noach was unwilling to have children. After all, how could he go on? How could he be creative? How could he procreate in the face of such massive destruction? I think there's something very important that we could all glean from this. We all know people who have suffered in life. We all know people who have gone through a period of grief. Some of us may know people right now who are suffering, right now who are grieving. And while Judaism is very careful not to rush the grieving process, when people are ready, sometimes they find it very hard to re-enter the world. And sometimes people need a helping hand, a friend who says to them, "Let's go out. Let me help you re-enter the world." Noach had that in God. God played that role. We have the opportunity to play that role for friends, family, and acquaintances who simply may be too depressed to re-enter the world. And so as we read this story and as we see that God is the one that is urging Noach to re-enter, to procreate, to once again live, even in the face of such awesome destruction, we should remember that we could play that role for others. We could help others when they're ready, and without rushing the grieving process, we could help others re-enter the world. Simple acts by taking people out for a cup of coffee, for a bite to eat, or a visit to their home, a phone call. Simple things could help people who are depressed, who are sad, who are grieving, or who are suffering, help them re-enter the world, help them reacquaint themselves with the world. This story in Noach of God telling him to get off the boat is an act of divine kindness, chesed. We could perform the same chesed on a very human level for people we know who are sad, depressed, or suffering. It's a great opportunity for us to learn from God and to follow in His ways. Shabbat Shalom.